Welcome back, WNST, Towson, Baltimore, and Baltimore Positive. We are positively into these summer months, and that means crabs and crab cakes. I've been avoiding crabs. I've been avoiding crab cakes because I'm doing a crab cake tour, and we're going to be at G&M this week with Stuart Pittman, Anne Arundel County Executive. We were at Barrett's on the Pike up in Bel Air. Don't let that keep you away from the Barrett's in Hunt Valley as well. Delicious crab cakes. I'm wearing my State Fair. That was our second tour stop last month in Catonsville, where I think it's still incendiary what happened over there last week with all of the festivities and all the fun going on over at State Fair and all that hot dog eating. And of course, over at El Guapo, where I still owe my wife a margarita. We got to figure this out probably for our anniversary later on in the month. We're getting back to Fadley soon as well, and having some conversations where I know our next guest has markets on the mind as well, Don Moeller, and always good to catch up with folks. I hit you a couple weeks ago and said, let's just do nothing but local here. Let's pick the minds and the brains of former guests and our friends around here. And I have sauntered in and out of this guy's market recently for, let's see, cherry chocolate ice cream at the Harka. Anytime we need any produce, Alex Smith has his hootenannies going up on the roof now. So there's crab cakes and fried chicken and people and beer. Summertime in the city, Don Moeller.
I'm telling you, and nobody better to talk about it. One of the partners of Caves Valley Partners, Arsh Mirmiran, good friend of Baltimore Positive. Arsh, welcome back.
Thanks, guys.
It is post-pandemic for Caves Valley.
Not fully. Don't say
well,
that.
We're getting there. We're gonna keep moving to post-pandemic. We're going to keep encouraging those who have not yet been vaccinated to get vaccinated so we can complete the job. Arsh, for folks, before we get into all the projects and all of the things that you're working on right now, for some of our listeners who may be new to this, give them a sort of a For Dummies primer on Caves Valley Partners and what you guys do and what you try to bring to the table to improve our city and the region.
Sure. So we're a small group of local developers who basically made the decision, I don't know, probably 7 or 8 years ago, that we were going to be focused entirely on Baltimore City, Baltimore County. So we do a bunch of urban infill projects in the city and in the county, in our backyards. I live in the city. My two partners live in Baltimore County, and we're just trying to make Baltimore a better place. Which can be challenging at times, but that's the mission that we've chosen, and that's what we're trying to execute every day.
You get a lot of heat, like everybody does, that tries to build anything. There's two sides, government and the other side, and people, and misinformed people, and people that feel they're overinformed and all of that. But there's so many people that I do talk to that say they're not going to develop in a city anymore, and that they've given up on the city, and they're like, and again, that's the reason I develop Baltimore Positive. But I see what you do. I mean, I've bumped into you in the market just accidentally downtown because we're neighbors and we live here. It's easy to say, well, we do things in the county and the city. I think anybody that does things in the county and the city realizes it's been two different worlds the last 10, 20, 30, 40 years doing business, and the cost of business and the value. As I try to sell my condo here, it's still available. What about the city makes you and your partners still in? Because I meet people like you, and I'm not going to out them all the time, but they say they're done in the city. You're far from that.
Yeah, we're definitely farther from that than others. It's not a good situation in the city right now. I'm not thrilled with the direction that things are going. I say this all the time, and I don't know that I've ever done it with you, but I was in Nashville 3 weekends ago visiting some friends from college, and we all met up in Nashville, and I saw how that city has absolutely exploded. Right? I don't know if you've ever been down there.
Well, the scene you now have at the top of Alex's place on that second floor in the back, that vibe after dark on a night where there'd be music, there'd be entertainment. I remember when Nashville was a podunk town. Barry Trotz and I are very close. He took that job down there in the 90s when the Ravens started playing there in the 90s in the Eddie George Ray Lewis game. And I know you're a big Ravens fan. From that time to now, to see what it looks like, it's amazing. I mean, it's a modern urban American renaissance.
Totally different city than it was, and yet there's no reason that we shouldn't be a significantly better city than Nashville, Tennessee. There are all these cities that don't have the same attributes that we do. We have the geography. I say we're between the political capital and the financial capital of the world. We have so much going for us. We have an amazing waterfront. We have an amazing port. And yet we stumble over ourselves all the time. And so I actually am now at the point where, I used to yell at people when they said, I don't go in the city, it's unsafe, right? And I used to say that's ludicrous, and you're just sheltered, and you need to kind of expand your horizons a little bit. It's getting harder. I'm still at it. I still believe in the city. I think that we should be, and we can rattle off the cities if you're so inclined. I don't know how much time you have, but there are not more than 17 or 18 cities in the country that we can never catch, right? I don't know where we fall if you actually looked at sort of places people want to be. We've got 2 major league sports franchises, which is a big deal. But if you rank cities in terms of like a place people want to live, a place where people want to go visit, I don't know where we fall in, but it might be somewhere around 50. We should be in the top 20. By all accounts, we should be in the top 20. So it's our fault that we're not in the top 20. And I say that the difference between where Baltimore is today and the potential of the city, if properly run, is the greatest of any city in America. And no one is ever able to name one that has a bigger gap, has a bigger delta between what it is and what it should be. So I'm still committed. My partners are still committed. We are trying to do everything we can to have this city achieve its potential. But boy, is it's not a good situation right now, in my opinion.
Well, Arsh, let's drill down on that, because you believe in the city, we believe in the city. Yeah, it has challenges. There's no doubt about it. The crime issue remains its number one challenge, but it is interesting. Larry Gibson and others started to make the point. It doesn't mean that crime is okay in Baltimore by any point, but when you begin to look at what's happening nationwide, actually Baltimore, even with its issues, appears to be making some minimal progress. Now, it doesn't feel like that if your friend was attacked in Fells Point or in one of the other, neighborhoods that make up our city. But you've got horrific crime numbers now coming out across the country, the kind of crime numbers that we have not seen in decades. I saw over July 4th weekend, there were 100 shootings in Chicago, and the police actually issued a statement that they had lost control of Chicago, Illinois. I mean, think about that for a minute, where the police have to issue a statement that they had lost control of the city. You're a thoughtful guy. You're a businessman. You're putting your money where your mouth is. What do we need, other than everybody says we need to address crime? What does that mean? What are you looking for in terms of incremental progress that will make you think we're on our way to becoming Nashville?
Look, I know that there were issues with sort of the broken windows theory and making sure that, the basic laws are followed. But I'm a firm believer that worked, right? There were flaws. There were certainly flaws, and there were probably too many arrests, and there are probably people being put away for things that aren't truly that big a deal. But I don't think throwing your hands up is the answer. I was down. This is now. It was pre-pandemic, so it's 2 years ago. I was down in Federal Hill I was going actually from Sharp Leadenhall from Stadium Square over to Locust Point with a guy in our office. We were going to go over to the Chipotle over on Ford Avenue, grab a quick bite, and get back over to a meeting over at Stadium Square. And I was sitting at the light at Ostend and Hanover Streets, and it's a no right turn on red. So I was going to make a right on Hanover and a left on Ford, and it's a no turn on red. I'm the kind of guy, I put my seatbelt on to go across a parking lot. I signal within a parking lot. It's how I was taught to drive. That's what I do. Okay. I consciously made an illegal right turn on red because I was in a hurry. I looked, it was perfectly safe. There was no blind view. I wasn't, reckless about it, but I looked, there was no one there. And I went ahead and made a right on red, and I went on. And for me to break a traffic law and do something like that, and I consciously did it. So I've gone from waiting for the light to making an illegal right turn on red. No harm, no foul. What's the big deal, right? But when everyone in society starts to take that approach and say, hey, I'm going to throw this bag of McDonald's trash out of my car, or I'm going to go and rob someone, or I'm going to now rob someone while holding a gun. If everything slides one step or two steps, we end up in this condition in which we have lawlessness. And so people should not jaywalk. People should stop at red lights. People should not block the intersection.
People should not double park on Pratt Street in front of fast food restaurants and think they're in like Towson and Park. It's amazing. Like, I live in the city.
The problem is
stuff that you just never saw 10 years ago. And
leadership has to care. Leadership has to care and say that you cannot do stuff like this. You can't make excuses for people and say, well, they didn't know any better. Yes, they did. People know better. People know not to do that, right? And if they don't know, the minute they get a ticket or they get a second ticket or whatever, and it starts to hit them in the pocketbook, then they start to care. And I'm a believer that there needs to be, from top down, an understanding that we have laws for a reason and that they will be enforced fairly and justly, but they will be enforced consistently. And we're not doing that. We're saying that petty crime is no big deal and we're going to focus on the big stuff. But when you say stuff like that, you're telling people it's okay to do illegal things. And if you want to change the laws, great, change the laws. But to say that you're not enforcing them anymore, then
they're not laws.
I think that's where it all starts. And that doesn't address necessarily the Nashville Baltimore issue. I think that's a bigger, I mean, they're a pro-business city and they're welcoming and people, people know that Nashville is open for business and it's open for growth, and it creates all kinds of jobs and opportunities. And that's where it all comes from, in my opinion. So I don't know. It's frustrating. I gave you a way long-winded answer to like.
No, it's an important answer. It's one that we hear all of the time. There are a lot of people working very, very hard. But I mean, I hear, for example, the open container issue in Fells Point until I'm blue in the face. I mean, people they get very emotional. They say, you don't understand. Just allowing people to walk around with open containers in Fells Point and to sell drugs on the street corners. I hear you. And I think, I certainly think that former Governor and Mayor O'Malley would hear you. And I think what I encourage folks to do is I remind them that Mayor Scott's only been in office now 6 or 7 months. I think he's someone who cares deeply about the city. And I think people will be paying close attention as to whether we're able to make some of these changes that you are talking about. For those of you just jumping in, we are with Arsh Mirmiran, partner of Caves Valley Partners, small development group that really focuses on Baltimore City and Baltimore County. And with that in mind, Arsh, let's talk about things that give you a little more giddy up in your step, make you feel good. Cross Street Market. I mean, we talked to you, a couple years ago. It was getting ready to open. Pandemic hits. The whole world shuts down. How are you feeling about Cross Street now? And tell folks what's going on there and why they should get on by.
So look, we were in a good spot right before the pandemic. January, February of 2020, we had turned the corner. The place, we went down. I was actually the last concert I went to was over at. We went over to Power Plant Live. See, there's old school band called the Connells that we used to listen to in college, but a group of us went over to Cross Street Market before. Can't remember whether it was a Friday night or a Saturday night, but the place was hopping. It was jammed. It felt great. Bunch of families. It wasn't uniform. You had old, you had young, you had, babies and strollers. You had people from kind of what appeared to be all walks of life and all ethnicities.
Well, Arsh, that's the neighborhood, though. I live here. I live six blocks from there. When things happen at the park, it's not black or white or rich or poor or east or west or young or old. I mean, it's literally for everyone. I was thinking the other day about the World Cup and soccer, watching the Euro and stuff, thinking about soccer events that have happened there, or music events or yoga events. That is the community. That's the beauty of living in the city, as to how dynamic and how varied the population and the visitors are when things are going right here.
I agree with you. And it was that type of cross section. It was representative of the city and representative of South Baltimore. And it was great. And then the pandemic hit, and the last year was a huge challenge. We did everything we could to keep our vendors afloat. We've lost a couple. There's a chance we're going to lose a couple more. But we bent over backwards to make the pandemic sort of our issue as opposed to our vendors' issues. And it was sort of like a pay what you can type of scenario. We've now come out of the pandemic. So I believe my view on it, Don, you said the pandemic's over. I think the pandemic is over for anyone who chooses for it to be over. If the pandemic still applies to you, you are choosing for the pandemic not to be over, because anyone other than kids 12 and under, and I've got 2 of them, can go get vaccinated, right? Anyone can go vaccinated. You can literally, I was in Sam's Club last weekend buying a bunch of waters and paper towels. Literally, you can just walk up and get vaccinated in a Walgreens or in a Sam's Club or any number of places, right?
In wise markets for our wise conversations as well.
Anywhere, right? Anywhere, you just walk in and you get vaccinated. If you choose not to get vaccinated, whether you're a crazy Trumper anti-vaxxer or you're you're just someone who thinks that someone's going to put a microchip in your arm. I don't know where people come from when they make these decisions. But they make the decision. At this point, people have made the decision that the pandemic's not over. So from my perspective, the pandemic's over in the United States anyway. And so we should be back to full throttle. And summer's always slow, and we'll see how things shake out. But we need our vendors to be going full throttle. We need people to get back in the market and enjoy the market. The physical building has been amazingly redone. Atlas has opened Watershed, which is going completely gangbusters out of the chute. They're doing numbers that exceed our expectations and their expectations. Their food has been absolutely incredible.
Tell folks more about Watershed, Arsh, because they may not know. Tell them what they find if they want to go there. What kind of food? What's the vibe?
I can tell them because I've been there.
Yeah. I'm gonna give you the sort of the biased developer's perspective. Nestor, why don't you, as a neighbor?
Well, I mean, I do want to go through that with you because it's different than what it was, right? If you showed up for a ball game and said, "Let's go to Nick's," or let's go to the place we used to go, and it's the grown-up version of that. I mean, it's, to me. And I have a friend that's very angry at you, and he's not he's actually an ultra liberal guy, but the like all of this stuff. And I'm thinking, do you want the thing to be better, or do you not want it to be better? Do you want the neighborhood to be better? He owns property here. I said, do you want it to be better or not? There's no question it's that all aspects of it are better, but it costs more too, because better does. But all that being said, it's a wonderful addition to the neighborhood and to everything that's going on across street, that we need 100 places like that coming in that are bringing people in that want to create commerce, make the city better. I'm all about it. My wife and I have been in twice. We walked upstairs, we walked downstairs, how it attaches to the market, how it's in. I found it funny, like the people going into the market or used to going into the market on that side, but now you go in the side door, so you've changed a little bit. But I love what you've done to the market, Arsh. I mean, I live in the neighborhood. It's an upgrade. It isn't what it was. It's better than what it was.
Well, again, for those of us who haven't been to the restaurant, give us a sense of what the restaurant is all about, Arsh.
It's a classic Maryland seafood and crab house. So they've got steamed crabs. You can actually look in from the market side. You can look into where they're steaming the crabs. They've got this big neon crab that lights up orange. It can light up any color, but it lights up orange when they're steaming crabs. And I think that's going to become more and more popular as things get completely back to normal. And you got tourist activity, and the Orioles get better, and the Ravens, have games where people are attending starting this fall, or I guess actually starting next month. And
Don't they have fresh fish? Have you been down there?
No, no, I have not been back to the market.
It. Oh, we got to get you down.
Since the pandemic.
Well, he's got a whole, and we're talking about the best in the city, like literally, right? I mean, that's his goal, to create people. My wife and I are always dinner time. We wish we had a place we could, well, now we do, right?
Yeah, he's got a fish market that's inside the market. And if you look at the quality of the fish and the seafood that he carries, it's head and shoulders better than what was there before. It's really an amazing addition to the Charles Street side of the market, and is going to serve as an anchor there for many years to come. It's got a really, really cool roof deck. You can get crabs, you can get all kinds of different seafood. You can get the burger is actually amazing, and they've got, so people asked, can you have these, can you have the big beers like Knicks used to have? So they've added the big beers at sort of by popular demand. The big beer that everyone wanted to get at Knicks, they have that. I can tell you, I don't want to talk negatively about things that happened in the past, but I can tell you that you are getting a high quality, fresh, properly stored, clean meal and beverage when you go into Cross Street Market now.
Don, you're going to come down and hang out on that second floor. Maybe not on a 95-degree day, but we're going to get you down here when I get back in 2 weeks and you get back. And we'll just go get a crush, get like an orange crush.
I'm all in. We'll go
up
over there
on the second floor.
Crabs.
I want the breeze to be blowing in from the west, though, the day we go there. Because, it was nothing 6 weeks ago, literally. It was nothing you could do. Now it's something wonderful that's 4 blocks from my house. So, I don't know how anybody could complain about this, Arsh, but I know you.
I get it. People don't like. I use the example. I use the same razor from the time I turned, I don't know, 13 or 14 or however old I was when I got some lame little mustache. Right from that point on, when my dad taught me how to shave, I used the Gillette Sensor Excel. Okay, and literally until 3 years ago, I used that same razor. The Gillette Sensor Excel. There was nothing wrong with the Gillette Sensor Excel. It worked. It shaved my face. It shaved my whole face. I got older. The whiskers got gray. They got thicker, whatever. But the Gillette Sensor Excel did the job, right? There was nothing wrong with the Gillette Sensor Excel. Until one day I started getting the Gillette Sensor Excel. It was getting harder and harder to find online. And it came with Asian lettering on it. And I realized that the Gillette Sensor Excel is apparently no longer sold in the United States because no one's used it probably for 10 years other than me and like 10 other idiots like me.
It's the flip phone.
That's right. It's like it's worse than a flip phone. It was like an old rotary phone, right? So I switched to this. I don't even know what the new thing's called, but it's got a whole bunch of blades and some kind of green strip. And I switched to it and I'm like, holy cow, this is like, I was living in the dark ages. It was like I was skiing on old wooden skis or playing golf with like an old wooden golf club. And people are like that. People are resistant. I'm resistant to change. People are resistant to change. And I get that it's different. It's totally different than what was there. I believe it's better. I believe that it's going to do more for the neighborhood. I believe it's going to do more for the city. And I believe that what was there was dying. And if it had been there until now, the pandemic would have finished that place off and you'd be starting from scratch now. So, I take everything, all the complaints with a grain of salt. I get human nature. I get when we do a development, people don't like things to change. It's been like this. There's nothing wrong with this. They built Camden Yards. And I was like, I went to my first baseball game at Memorial Stadium. Why the hell do we need a new baseball stadium? Why is it all the way downtown? Why can't we go to Memorial Stadium? And then the Bay Sox played in Memorial Stadium one summer. And I went back and was like, boy, was this a dump. Like if we could have picked up Cross Street Market and moved it 4 blocks over, and then people went to the new one, and then they could go to the old one more time, they'd be like, okay, I get it, right? Because Memorial Stadium was perfectly fine. There was nothing, that was the dreams of my youth, and they wiped it out with this fancy new stadium downtown. And guess what? 30 years later, that fancy new stadium is now one of the older stadiums in the league, and it has charm. And that's what's going to happen. The market, people are going to, you got to wear it in, right? It's a new baseball glove. You got to bring.
Well, I got Tessemae's dressing up there. So, I was very, very happy. I've made some discoveries right in your market. Arsh Mirmiran's here from Cays Valley Partners, of course, with Don Moeller. All of our wise conversation can be found at BaltimorePositive.com. Arsh, I was sort of chastising my pal, and it didn't even go well. Like, honestly, on a personal level, it didn't go well. I said, do you not want people coming and investing in, do you not want people caring enough to make it better? And we kind of left it at that, but you're trying to make other things better as well. I mean, we talk about Cross Keys and other things you have going on. My wife goes to Cross Keys for her eyes. I know at one point we got together before the pandemic and the Cross Keys things was in the paper and you're like, well, it's not done yet. I remember we were with you one day. Give us a little Cross Keys update as well, because I think there's more rumors out on the street about growth and different things coming there. You've not only wound up taking control of that, but now trying to move on to what's going to be there in 2025. And I did have a great conversation. You got to look this one up. I had Bill Madden on. He was in the bar at the Whitson Billy Martin fight. I mean, firsthand account. Gave me 10 minutes on it. So I did have that on the air last month. So Cross Keys has been on our lips, but it was for something that happened in 1981.
That's awesome. That's cool. Yeah, Cross Keys is going beyond my wildest imaginations. And I was pretty high on it going in. Deal almost didn't happen because of the pandemic, but we kept it together and got it going. Office leasing is off the charts. We do, I feel like it's almost a lease a week at Cross Keys.
Is the world getting better like that then? I mean, we hear about, have employers having problems. I mean, I wonder, and Arsh, I was in New York last week. I hit the lottery with Bruce Springsteen. My wife and I spent 2 days, Wednesday and Thursday. And I literally thought of you. I think of you, you're one of the 10, 15 people I know in the world that does this sort of thing. And other than maybe some people that sell it at a level below, but what has happened in New York and what has happened in Baltimore has created this whole next opportunity, right? To say what's going to go in there, something different that was in there before. But your phone's ringing. I find that to be a fascinating update to me, that people are wanting to relocate and wanting to do it in the city as well.
Look, we actually have some tenants that are coming from the county. We have a decent number of tenants that are coming out of downtown. They don't want to be downtown anymore. They're still staying in the city by being at Cross Keys. We've had sort of a net influx, I would say, to the city in the project. But we've seen a huge amount of activity there, and I think it's a place that's beloved by Baltimore and has been for decades. And the fact that it's a local group and people know we're going to get it done has given people the confidence to come back in there. But it's not just Cross Keys. Even at Stadium Square, where things were really, really quiet for basically the duration of the pandemic, we're about to get to 100% leased on 145 West Austin, our first building. We just sold the middle block to Lennar to build a new 316 unit apartment building there. And we have another office building that is permit ready and ready to go. Once we get a lead tenant in there, we're going to get that going. So it's not all doom and gloom in the city, and there is activity, and people are going to go back to the office. This notion that everyone's going to sit at home and work from home forever is completely flawed. And it's been pretty obvious to anyone who looks at history and sort of understands how human behavior works. But people are going to be back in the office. We're fully back in the office. We have one person who has a young child that isn't able to start daycare yet. He'll be back in the office in the fall. Everyone else is already back in the office, and we're seeing this across the board. People are getting back in. If there's a snow day, there's no reason for everyone to go to the office anymore. Just work remotely. The technology's there. People can work remotely. If you've got,
or they can work Friday from home or whatever, right? I mean, people are going to make that. We're going to figure this out. We're going to have to figure it out. We all need to keep our gig, right?
But I do think Arsh makes a really insightful point, and that is we are social beings. We are social beings, and the idea that suddenly everybody was just going to go to their basements forever. That just doesn't compute. It just doesn't compute. And I think we're going to see this hybrid, Nestor, that you talk about, from Fridays, maybe an occasional Friday or a sick
Well, I've
child,
been
you
talking
stay
about it
home.
all week. I mean, all of my
Right.
business conversations, this is what's on the mind of everyone. And I talked to Bill Cole about it yesterday, Cole Roofing. I talked to Mike Rosenfeld this week from Web Connection about it. And I think it's a July conversation because everything's a little quiet right now. And I think it's last year's school conversation, where the kids aren't going back to school. Oh my God. Now, to your point, Arsh, it's okay. Pandemic's over. Don, you've already said the pandemic. I haven't fully accepted that because I was in New York and people are wearing masks. And if we're wearing masks, I'm saying and people should wear masks to some degree. But for me, the thought now is, what is the new normal? Everybody hates that term. Well, the new normal isn't going to be you. I'm in my pajamas right now. I'm not going to stand. But the new normal isn't going to, maybe for me, but not for everybody else.
I'm properly dressed.
You're wearing slacks. What are you doing?
He's in the office.
I'm in the office where I should be.
Arsh, what's the most exciting when you guys get together as the Caves Valley team and you sit down and you have a cold one and you say, really feeling good about the future? What are you excited about at Caves Valley Partners?
Look, I'm excited about Cross Keys and everything that's happening there. But if you look at sort of what makes a real difference in Baltimore, it's what my partner Arthur's doing down on Warner Street between the football stadium and the casino. There wasn't actually Caves Valley Partners, but it was a group of people from Caves Valley Partners who were part of that casino partnership. And Arthur continues to lead the development effort on Warner Street between the casino and the football stadium. And Top Golf is now underway. That is going to be an incredible addition to that area. It's going to bring more people to South Baltimore. It's going to bring more people to the casino, and game day experience will get better. Paramount, which is a concert facility that's going across the street from the football stadium, that's making incredible progress. Hopefully we'll get in the ground later this year. These are things that are draws to the city. If people can say I'm not going to the city all they want. If you make the choice, I'm not going to the city, you're not going to a baseball game, you're not going to a football game. One day soon, you're not going to experience Top Golf. You're not going to one of these public markets.
You're not going to great restaurants.
You're not going to great. Yeah, I mean, there's some in the county, but you're not going to as many. There's way
I didn't mean there weren't, but I'm saying there are a lot of great restaurants that people would be passing on. That would be a shame.
There are more. There are way more great restaurants in the city than there are in the county. It's not even close. And you're not going to a concert. It's you can make that choice, but at some point you're depriving yourself of things that you should experience as a person.
This whole thing that you're going to punish the city by not showing up or something like that.
Don't show up. Don't show up. Go to Carroll County. Go to Carroll County and go play with some guns and do what you're going to do out there. Baltimore City will always, as the region goes and as the state goes, as Baltimore goes, the region and the state go.
I think there's no doubt about it.
Because we believe in the city and we believe in the region.
Arsh Mirmiran's our guest from Caves Valley. This is a perfect segue because I'm about to do my own sojourn in August. I'm going to places in the state I've never been. I've been all over the world. I talk about this place and that place and all these I've never been to Deep Creek Lake. I haven't been to Blackwater Refuge. I haven't been to Point Lookout. I have not been to Smith Island for Smith Island cake. So this August, I'm doing this journey, the Maryland Crab Cake Tour. Starts in Ocean City with the Marlin Open. We're going to end it with some fly fishing out on the Savage River with Dan Roderickson, his son. They're going to teach me how to fly fish. And we're storyboarding this. Think Anthony Bourdain, a little Guy Fieri, but just me eating crab cake. So every day, for 30 days, it's my 30th anniversary, we're going to have a crab cake every day, a Maryland crab cake caught right out of the bay here. And I'm going to educate people about the crab pickeries and what's going on and, what's happening over in Chestertown with the docks going underwater. We got all this thing. But I'm going to see people with red hats on the Eastern Shore and let Baltimore burn. But no. We're not going to do that. So crab cake diplomacy is what I'm looking to do here, from sea to shining mountain to right out to West Virginia. And I'm going to be doing this knowing that there are a lot of people that think like Baltimore's not a part of the state and it's okay to sort of abandon Baltimore. I sense you have a little bit of angst, and you've heard that before.
Yeah, people say that it doesn't. Who cares? Who cares what they say? They're not bringing anything to the table for Baltimore.
Now, we think the future is bright. Great things happening. Even we know the Ravens. We think the Ravens are going to be competitive. That's going to be good for Cross Street. You and I at least think the Orioles are going to be really good in the not too distant future. That's going to be good for Cross Street. So a lot of good things happening. And Arsh, to all of you and the guys at Caves Valley, thanks for believing and putting your money.
We get a crab cake, Don.
Got to get a crab cake.
No, Arsh, where is your crab cake place? So when Michael Jordan shows up and says, "Arsh, take me out for a crab cake," where are you taking the king for a crab cake?
I like a bunch of them around town, and there isn't one that really stands out to me. There are a bunch of them that I love,
but they're all different, right?
They're all different. Now, a lot of them are different. Some of them are kind of similar. So I'm not like a big oversized G&M guy. Like some people are like way into the G&M, just like the scale of the thing. To me, it doesn't do that much. Like I prefer, I don't necessarily need a smaller crab cake, but I'm much more into big lumps, not that much filler. It's interesting. Bill Devine at Fadley's one time. So I'm a big sauce guy. Bill Devine, I asked him for some cocktail and some tartar sauce. I like sauce.
He cursed at you.
He had a heart attack, didn't he?
He said no. And I said no. I kind of laughed and I was like, "Can I please have?" And he's like, "Do you put sauce on your filet mignon?"
That's what he says.
I do.
He says it all.
I normally order a filet with two. So I answered the question. I said, "Yeah, usually we'll get two different sauces at a steakhouse. I'll get two different sauces." And I enjoy the taste of the meat, but I also am all about the sauce. And so he said, "Do me a favor." He said, "Your first couple of bites, do it without the sauce." And I did, and he's right. It doesn't really need something. I still like sauce. I like
Bill and Nancy. Hey, Arsh, here's a simple rule. Bill and Nancy are always right. I've learned that. If Bill and Nancy say it at Fadley's, you can take it to the bank.
It's funny. We laugh, but I had David Katz on, and David has run Fox Sports for a number of years. He's back on his own doing the post game. Pikesville guys, lived in L.A. He's one of my dear buddies. And we got to talking crab cakes. And he said to me, I go places and they call it a Maryland style crab cake. And he said, I know it's a mistake when they bring 3 sauces with the crab cake. When it comes with remoulade and some mayonnaise, I know it's not a Maryland crab cake because they wouldn't pull that at Fadley's or Costa's.
We'll report back on the G&M. We're going down there with Anne Arundel County Executive Stuart Pittman.
I've only had one G&M crab cake in my life. So this is the second time. So I'm really looking forward to this. I haven't had a Coco's crab cake in 15 years, and Brandon Scott's taking us over there. Johnny O and I are going to Costa's because it's where we go. We're done talking.
And then you and I are going to meet Arsh when I get back from vacation at Watershed. We're going to have a beer and a crab cake, and we're going to set it up over there.
That's a deal.
Am I allowed to order the fried chicken too, or no?
I went to Coco's one time.
Oh, I love Coco's.
And there was like a 2-hour wait, and we ended up leaving. So I've never had a crab cake.
Oh,
Mayor's going to join later this month. Come on out.
The mayor's going to be there. You come join us with the mayor.
That's his spot, right? Coco's is his favorite spot.
Yes, it is.
Yeah. We went there. We went there one time and gave up. We weren't. I guess it's one of those Yogi Berra things. It's so crowded, no one goes there anymore. Right. It was like
exactly. Go Yogi, go O's, go Ravens, go Caves Valley, Cross Keys, Stadium Square, Cross Street Market. Great stuff because they believe in Baltimore positive.
I'm coming to get some ice cream with you down there at on Cross Street. The only place you can get the dark chocolate cherry that my wife likes so much. So we bought a pint to go and like had it melting. We're like running up the street. People are saying hello. So Look, you're close enough for me to buy ice cream and get it home before it melts. So it is my neighborhood. Arsh Mirmiran from Cays Valley joining us here, along with former County Executive Don Mueller, my partner in crime. You can find all of our work at Baltimore Positive and, of course, out in the podcast audio vault after that. And, of course, we were with Hartford County Executive Barry Glassman last week, Stuart Pittman from Anne Arundel County this week. So bringing county executives, government, and what Don Mueller likes to say, post-pandemic life together. Another Wise conversation in the books. Big appreciation to our friends at Wise Markets, talking about local for supporting the Heritage Fair last week over in Dundalk. Had a great night over at the fair in Dundalk. Big thanks to Rob Santoni and all our friends over at Wise. I am Nestor. We are WNST, AM 1570, Towson, Baltimore, and we never stop talking Baltimore positive and crab cakes and stuff.